Welcome again. This video is a bit of a clip show / b-roll footage from the previous video in which I did a sort of DAW comparison test where I compared some DAWs in regards to their loudness when I exported things, and I had some weird results with GarageBand. So in this video there are some segments where I show GarageBand, Cubasis, Gadget, Ableton and Cubase. So the first bit is recorded on the iPad as a screen recording, and I had to use a microphone with a lav mic. I used this Zoom recorder as an audio interface with this lav mic, and the audio is sadly a bit noisy. I hope it's good enough, but yeah, ideally I would have wanted to screen record the iPad with OBS with a capture card, but the problem is that the iPad outputs HDCP, which I cannot capture. Apparently if you have a Mac these things are a lot smoother, but because this is a Windows PC, yeah, things don't play well together always with an iPad in that regard. So yeah, it was screen recorded. In the first bit you see Gadget with my test project, from which I exported the stems. Then I import those in Cubasis, kind of show you how that works, and then I move to GarageBand where kind of the rant begins, because it was not very smooth, it was difficult and clunky to use. I really don't like GarageBand at all. I never use it, and yeah, it's just so difficult to figure out because the user interface hides a lot of stuff. It's just a bit too simplistic in some ways and kind of crude, and it just hides a lot of information. And apparently GarageBand doesn't seem to find the sample rate or the bit depth important. In any other DAW that is a setting that you can set for a project, but not in GarageBand. It always like auto converts files. It's super annoying. In a second part I demonstrate Ableton and Cubase. And well, the only gripe that I had with Ableton is that importing audio is a bit clunky in it. It's not in the file menu but in a create menu, and I had to use drag and drop, and then I found out that you have to turn off audio warping. That was super annoying. And then finally I end with Cubase. So I hope you enjoy it. So let's first take a look at Gadget. This is my 8-track loudness test project. So it's very simple. It's derived from a project that I did recently, and yeah, it's a great thing to test out rendering some stems and importing them in other DAWs to see how it all behaves. And importantly, all of the faders here are set to their default positions, to unity gain. The pen pots are all defaults. So if I play the track, well, you can hear what it is like. These things, the master effects here, they should be off when exporting. So this is all just very fine and dandy. And when it comes to exporting, Gadget has many options. You can do all tracks. In that case, every track will be exported as a separate WAV file, i.e. stem. Or you can do a master export where it just bounces them together, sums them, creates a stereo file. So that's great for comparisons. You can choose between 16-bit or 24-bit, and you have many different sample rate options. I did two versions, 16-bit 44.1 kHz and a 24-bit with 48 kHz. And that is what I basically did for my test project. So the next step would be Cubasis. I've already created this test project here, and well, it's very easy. In this case I'm just going to import some 16-bit files, and it's very easy to add them. Just choose import files. I think I remember where I have stored them. There are some here, so I'm going to select these, because these are the actual exports from Gadget. Oops. Yeah. So here are the 8 different tracks that were exported from Gadget. So they will now be in the media bay, which means I can select audio and I can just drag them in like so. Very easy. This is way more convenient than it is in GarageBand. In GarageBand I had a lot of faffing about. It's just clunky and annoying, and Cubasis is very easy to use and just, well, yeah, a bit more professional. So it's just simple to put together this project. I'm going to change the BPM to 90 BPM because that is the source in Gadget as well. And this is how I normally work when I kind of start mixing. So now I'm going to set the locator, the right locator about here. Yeah, and this is a bit manual process, and that's why the length of some of the files will differ slightly. So, and there are of course no effects here, they're all disabled. And here you've got all those faders, they're all at their default positions at unity gain. Same for the pen pots, all very simple. So Cubase is really nice, and when it comes to exporting, you can just say projects mixdown, create mixdown, and it will create a mixdown depending on the settings that you've chosen in the setup over here. So if you choose this sample rate, well, you can choose these different combinations. It's all very fine and dandy. But now GarageBand. GarageBand is annoying. So yeah, this is already an early attempt, but let's go back to that one, and I'm actually going to delete this one. This is the 8-track test project. It was rather difficult to import all of these things. And also, when it comes to the exporting, I have to make sure that the compressor here is off and that there are no of these other effects here. So I made sure that that was all fine, but importing these tracks was difficult. Yeah, I had to use drag and drop here, and well, I just couldn't really figure this out. And this stuff here, it's all clunky, it goes back to this. And when you create a new project, and this is really a GarageBand RANT, because I never use it and I just find it a bit clunky. Yeah, I just want to go here. Okay, let's import something. You have to use drag and drop, kind of annoying. And how do I set the tempo? Well, I don't know how I can actually set the tempo here. Yeah, GarageBand is just shit. And if you save, well, it calls it main number, which in English would be my track, but everything gets the same name by default. You cannot actually name the project when you start the project. Oh yeah, it's super annoying. You actually have to hold this thing down and change the name. But yeah, every time you just create something new, it just defaults to that same name, and yeah, it's just bloody annoying. And also, when I want to add another track, I always have to go through these things, and then I have to like do this. And of course, by default, it will enable the compressor, and I have to change this for every track. It's just annoying as hell. And this is just only 2 tracks imported. But I don't even know how I can change the tempo. Yeah, how do I do that? I have no idea. Oh, actually, I take back my words. It's here. I spoke a bit too soon. But yeah, it's just GarageBand. And also, it only imports like 7 bars. So it will just kind of loop. But of course, my stems are much longer. Oops, where's the rest? Yeah, I think you gotta do this. So this is totally manual. Let's set it to something. I couldn't care. But of course, it only imported that short little piece. So I have to import these things again. It doesn't automatically like stretch them, so I have to delete this. Oh yeah, and good luck with that. I want to get rid of this. There's no menus. It's also context sensitive. When you press and there's these weird hidden gestures. How do I delete this? It's not self-explanatory. GarageBand is just, that's horrible. So that was struggling with GarageBand on the iPad. Now let's move on to the PC with Ableton and Cubase. Let's see how that goes. So let's first see how we can get some audio into Ableton and how easy it is in Cubase in comparison. Well, let's see. Let's go to the file menu. Why isn't there an option to import audio files? Apparently there is an option here called import audio file. Okay, fair enough. Let's select the source files. Can I hold down Shift or Control? No, I can only select one file at a time. That is annoying. I guess we have to use drag and drop then. Okay, let's painstakingly import these things by drag and drop. And I personally find drag and drop very awkward and slow and inconvenient and just, yeah, it's just not something I actually like. It's too accidental and it requires good motor skills. Oh, look at this. You can very easily have two things on top of each other. You do not want that. Oh dear. It's just a pain, really. Ah, come on, why won't you place properly? Okay, the files are in here. But now what? Uh-oh. They're all in a different length. Shouldn't they be the same length? What is this? It turns out there is a weird and obscure option that is enabled by default called audio warping, and you should actually disable that. Okay, let's go to the options then, preferences, and turn this off. And for some weird reason they turn this on by default, and you shouldn't. Also, I learned through some googling that you can actually multi-select multiple clips in the Windows Explorer and drag and drop them in there if you hold down the Control key. So let's select them. Hold down Control, don't forget to do this. And now it imports multiple tracks. And now they are also the correct length. It's just a bit awkward. Yeah, Ableton Live Lite has many limitations, and it's just the user interface that and certain other things that makes me prefer Cubase any day over Ableton. So let's see how it is done in Cubase. Well, it's super simple. Simply go to Import Audio File. And look at this, I can select multiple files. Open. It asks me if I want them on one track or on different tracks. I want different tracks, of course. Piece of cake! They're all imported automatically on different tracks. And they're all at the correct length. Of course, I need to change my tempo here to 90 beats per minute, because that is the tempo of my Gadget project. But as you can see, just importing them and it will automatically ask you if it should create different tracks. It's simply too easy. So that was it, the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this little ramble about importing audio in different DAWs. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed it and thanks for watching. Bye bye.